All right, let's dive in. If you've ever found yourself in a dispute at the Malaysian Strata Management Tribunal, you know just how important an expert's report can be. But what do you do when that report comes back and it just feels wrong? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a really powerful tool you have, Regulation 47. We'll break down exactly what it is and how you can use it to build a stronger case. So just imagine this for a second. The tribunal brings in an expert to give a final word on a tricky issue, maybe a building defect or a complicated financial problem. The report lands and your jaw just drops. You feel like it's missed key evidence, or maybe the conclusion is just completely off base. It can feel like your whole case is about to go down the drain. So do you just have to sit there and take it? No way. Absolutely not. And the best part is, the solution isn't some hidden secret. Your power to fight back against that expert opinion is written right into the law that runs the whole show at the tribunal. And here it is, the star of our show today, Regulation 47. I know, it looks like a whole lot of legal jargon at first glance. But trust me, inside this one sentence, you'll find your rights, the specific rules you have to follow, and even a few really important exceptions. So, let's break it all down piece by piece. Okay, first up, and this is probably the most important part. This regulation gives you a fundamental right to push back against the official expert's findings. The easiest way to think about it, it's basically your guaranteed right to get a second opinion when it really, really matters. So here's the bottom line. If the tribunal appoints their expert, the law says you are absolutely entitled to bring in your own expert. It's just like when you go to the doctor, right? If you're not sure about a diagnosis, you have every right to see another doctor for a second opinion. This regulation makes sure that same basic fairness is applied in your strata case. Now pay close attention to the wording here, because this is key. Your expert can't just come in and talk about whatever they want. They have to give evidence on the question reported by the tribunal expert. What does that mean? It means their testimony has to be laser-focused on directly challenging or offering a different take on the exact same issue the first expert looked at. It keeps the whole process on track and prevents things from getting messy. Okay, so you have this right. Awesome. But it's not a free-for-all. You can't just spring a surprise witness on everyone on the day of the hearing. The regulation is very clear that there's a process. So let's walk through these rules of engagement so you do it right. It's really just a simple three-step process. First, you make the call to hire your expert. Second, and this is crucial, you have to let the other side know what you're planning to do. And third, you have to give them that heads up in a timely manner. This is all about fairness. It prevents ambushes and gives everyone enough time to prepare. But here's a little snag. The rules say you need to give reasonable notice, but they never actually tell you what reasonable means. So, what's the practical advice here? It's simple. Move fast. As soon as you decide you're calling an expert, send that notice. Don't wait. We're talking weeks, not days. Getting it done early is the best way to avoid a pointless argument down the road about whether your notice was reasonable enough. So, you know you can call an expert, and you know how to notify everyone. But is there a catch? Well, you guessed it, there is, and it's a big one. The regulation puts a default limit on how many experts you can bring to the party. And that number is 1. That's it. By default, you get to call one expert witness, and only one, to make your case against the tribunal's expert. This is a hard rule, and you really need to have it in the front of your mind from the start. The regulation could not be any clearer about this. That little phrase, "but no party may call more than one such witness," is a firm line in the sand. It means you have to choose your expert very carefully because they're going to be your one and only technical voice in the room. So why the limit? Well, it's all about keeping things running smoothly. The tribunal is designed to resolve disputes efficiently. This rule prevents a case from spiraling into a battle of the experts, where each side brings in a parade of witnesses that could drag the hearing out for months and months. It's about finding a balance. But what if your case is just incredibly complicated? What if a single expert can't possibly cover all the different technical angles? Well, the good news is the regulation has a kind of built-in safety valve for these exact situations. It's called seeking special permission. This is the exception to that one witness rule. So let's look at this side by side. On the one hand, you have the standard rule. One expert is your automatic right. On the other hand, the exception opens the door to bringing in more. The huge difference here? Getting more than one expert isn't a right. It's a privilege that the tribunal has to grant you. And these are the magic words right here, without the leave of the tribunal. Leave is really just a fancy legal term for permission. And the tribunal will only give you that permission if they think it's reasonable in the circumstances of the case. That means the final decision is completely up to the tribunal president's discretion. So what's the big takeaway here? You can't just decide you need more experts. You have to formally apply for it and really persuade the tribunal that your case is genuinely exceptional. You need a rock-solid reason. Maybe the problem involves two totally different fields of expertise, like both a structural engineer and a forensic accountant. That's the kind of thing that might justify calling more than one witness. All right, so we've broken down the rights, the rules, the limits, and the exceptions. Let's zoom out for a second and look at the big picture. Why does this one little regulation matter so much in the grand scheme of things? When you boil it all down, Regulation 47 is really doing three things at once. First, it promotes fairness by making sure you get a chance to tell your side of the story. Second, it acknowledges a simple truth. Even the experts can disagree. And finally, and maybe most importantly, it creates this really elegant balance. It protects your right to present your case, but it also makes sure the system doesn't get completely bogged down and inefficient. And that brings us right to the final and most important question, the one you need to ask yourself. Now that you know the rules of the game, you know your rights, you know the process, and you know the limits, is bringing in that second expert opinion the key strategic move that could turn the tide in your case? The power is there for you to use, and now you know how.